What's going on, you guys? I'm as always Mr. Grimreaper 512, and welcome everybody to another episode of Back in Time, and welcome to Mob Week. On today's episode, I'm going to give you guys another reaction. Another review, pardon me, to this time to the 1992 classic Reservoir Dogs. Now, this movie was also written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. It stars Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tierney, Michael Madsen, Tarantino himself, and Edward Bunker. Hold on, you guys. I'm trying to get this together here. Okay. Let me go to here. There we go. Okay. So, this was one of my favorite movies growing up. Another one of my favorite movies growing up. So I'm gonna talk to y'all guys. I'm gonna do the plot like I always do, and then we're gonna see whether this movie was good or bad. This movie came out in 1992, but when I first saw this movie, it was around 97, I think, when I first saw this movie. But as I said before, this movie was written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. So basically, these guys, this group of dudes, this 8 men, are sitting down. They can, and in a span of one day, there's a heist that happens. So I think the deal is that it's a span of one day. That all hell seems to break loose with what went down with. It all begins with a heist. It all begins with the 8 guys sitting in a Los Angeles diner having breakfast, and they're going over what their plan is and all that. So after the heist, White flees from the crime scene with Orange, Mr. Orange, who is played by Tim Roth, who was shot during the escape and is bleeding severely at one of Joe's warehouses. White and Orange rendezvous with Mr. Pink, who believes that the job was a setup and the police were waiting for them. Mr. Pink being Steve Buscemi. White informs them that Brown is dead, Blue and Blonde are missing, and Blonde murdered several civilians during the heist. White is furious that Joe, his old friend, would employ such a psychopath. Pink has hidden the diamond nearby. He argues with White over whether or not they should get medical attention for Orange. Okay, so most of the stuff that goes on happens between the past and the present. From what we saw here, and during the movie, you get an understanding that one of these guys are not who you think they are. One of these guys is actually a cop. And I believe it was let's see here, if I can remember right. I think it was Freddy, Mr. Orange, who we come to find out, who come to realize is a I think it was Orange. I think, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. Yeah. So yeah, it was Orange. It was Mr. Orange. He is a cop. the whole during the movie, uh, Orange is Orange is trying to play, Orange is trying to play. Oh, I didn't do nothing, and excuse me, this. Okay, so let me see here. I'm trying to go through this here real quick. I apologize, guys, for taking too long. But during the whole film, this whole thing, as I said before, spans one day. One day. Um, these 8 guys meet up, talk about a heist, as we talked about during this, and then next thing you know, all hell breaks loose. We go to the present. Both White and Pink have beaten up a guy by the name of Nash for information. Eddie arrives and orders them to retrieve the diamonds and ditch the getaway vehicles, leaving Blonde in charge for Nash and Orange. Nash denies knowledge, but Blonde ignores him and resumes the torture, cutting off his ear with a straight-lit razor. Jesus, I remember that scene. Michael Madsen was goddamn brutal in that scene. He is about to set Nash on fire, but is shot dead by Orange, who then explains to Nash that he is an undercover police officer and that the police will arrive soon. So, yeah, all hell breaks loose during this film. During this whole film, all hell tends to break loose. I thought that the cast did really good. I thought that when Tarantino had made this movie was really good. I think this was the first one that he made. This was the first. I believe that that's what the case was, but excuse me. But I thought that Reservoir Dogs is a classic, is still a classic film. Even though there was some pacing issues, a little. It could have done with a lot of pacing issues, but as far as that it goes, this movie was fantastic. I gave it a 10 out of 10. Simply because this movie did what it had to do. It did what it set out to do. It told a good story and all that. So, Quentin Tarantino again brought a good story and everything else in between for what he accomplished, for what he was able to accomplish in this film. Harvey Keitel, all of them did real good. Steve Buscemi, a wise talking dude, and all he kept I liked his character a little bit more because he was a wisecracker. He was, and all that. But the one person that I think got the most out of this was the one brutal part that got me was the part where Michael Madsen's character, you can't see it, but you could sure as hell hear it. He rips his poor dude's, he fucking cuts his poor dude's ear off. And Jesus, man, I winced when that happened. So, yeah, I gave this film a 10 out of 10. I thought this film was really likable. I enjoyed every minute of this film. And I thought this was a pretty good film. But let me know in the comments, what is your memories of Reservoir Dogs? That's going to be it for me. I'm going to give you guys another review here in a little while. That's going to be it. I'm Mr. Grimreaper 512, and I'll see you all in the afterlife. Peace.